Good morning, Kalimera. I thought I would give this sermon here after the gospel. That's the proper place for the sermon to go, actually, is after the gospel to help us interpret what we've just heard. We do it at the end in order to accommodate Sunday school, which will start in a few weeks. But I thought I would give the sermon here this morning. I just got back from vacation late last night, and it's interesting. I'm looking out at the congregation, and some people I don't notice. I don't know. I notice all. I do not know. So we have new people even today, which is wonderful. And so I don't have to repeat the story 100 times. My family and I went up to upstate New York. Lisa and I have been there before, but Nicholas has not been there. We went to Niagara Falls, and we went to the Finger Lakes region of New York, where Niagara Falls, lots of people. Finger Lakes, no people. And got to spend some time in nature and just be quiet. And I wanted to reflect on a couple things that happened on our trip. One of them is that we got to see the power of nature. And when people start wondering, is there a God? If you're wondering, is there a God? One of the best places to start is being in nature, because you see the power of something that is so much greater than us. If you've been to Niagara Falls before, the amount of water that comes over there is unbelievable. And it doesn't matter if it's winter, summer, spring, fall, if there's been a lot of rain or not a lot of rain, it's the same intensity all the time. We went there at the beginning of our vacation. We went back at the end because we liked it so much, and it was like, wow, it's the same as it was last week. And it's the same as it will be next week and next month and next year. And in the Finger Lakes of New York, there's a lot of falling water there as well, but that falls according to the weather. Spring more, summer less. So if you want to connect with God, one of the best places to do it is in nature. And in order to be a Christian, the first thing one has to believe is that there is a God. There is something greater than us out there. The second thing that we have to think about if we are Christians and we believe there's a God is, what can I offer to God? So something that I did not know that I saw on this trip through Niagara Falls is that about 5 miles upstream from the falls, there's these two massive gates. And the two massive gates are, imagine the size of our church times 2 going up. Imagine 2 of those. So they're gates that are side by side. Well, they're about probably 100 yards apart. And they contain 2 of our churches. Actually, they contain entirety of 4 of our churches. And those gates take water from the Niagara River, and they run it under the city of Niagara Falls, about 6 miles, where there's a dam where hydroelectric things, I'm not an engineer, take place. And the upshot is that 20% of the power that powers New York, 20% of the electricity that powers New York, is because of the water that passes through these gates. That's really amazing. To think how much water is passing under the city of Niagara Falls and the ground doesn't collapse. But to think of the brain power that came up with this. And they did it in the 1950s, before there was the internet. And we think about all the things that we have now and all the things they didn't have back then, and to think the power of the human mind to create something like this. And they were doing stuff like this in the mid-19th century, not to this scale, but they understood the value of water powering things. So the second thing, we have to believe there is a God. The second thing is, like, what can I offer God? So God gave some people the brain power to be engineers and to design things. And God gave other people the ability to do different things. And everybody has the ability to do something. Now let's go to the story that we read this morning, the miracle of the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. Everyone knows the story. We may not know its nuances, but we know that God took a little bit of substance, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, and 5,000 people were fed. If you read between the lines, especially in the original Greek, you'll realize it says they were filled, and they all ate and they were satisfied. But In the Greek language, the word satisfied comes from the Greek word ekportastisan, which means full to overflowing. So we've all had the experience of eating too much, and we feel like, oh my gosh, I should have had that extra piece of pie, and we feel like sick to our stomach. This is how full the people were after eating. And it wasn't just 5,000 people, there were women and children there. So if the average family has 3.24 people in it, and it probably had more back then, we're talking about 17,000 people that were fed to overflowing. They ate so much they were all sick from eating. And there were 12 baskets left over, and it's not the basket that you put a donation in the narthex. That's not the kind of basket they're talking about. The word they use in the Bible is actually the word koufinus, which is that's where the word coffin comes from, but it's not even the kind of coffin that we have at a funeral now. What they used to do is they used to have big things, like the kuvuklion that we have the body of Christ in. Like, think about ancient Egypt and the pyramids and the way that they would endow kings who were buried. So they had, so imagine for the sake of a better word, 12 dumpsters like we have outside. 12 huge things. So 5 loaves and 2 fish fed 17,000 people so that they were sick from eating, and there were 12 dumpsters basically of food left over. And the key to this whole miracle is that somebody had to step forward and give something. So Jesus is saying, sees all these people, and the disciples are like, hey, we're hungry, it's late, send these people away. We don't know where the 5 loaves and 2 fish came from, but let's just presume they came from the disciples. So 12 guys, 5 loaves, 2 fish, maybe it would feed 12 hungry guys, maybe not. They said, that's all we have. And Jesus says, bring it here. Imagine if they said, no, we're not going to do that, because if we give anything to these people, we're not going to have anything for ourselves. So it took some faith for whoever offered these gifts to offer what they had to God. And then God took what they offered and he made it into something amazing. We all know from our times tables from 3rd grade that 0 times anything is 0. So when we offer God nothing, we receive nothing. Now, when we talk about offering something to God, we can talk about offering our talents, but let's get even on a more granular level. Many of us struggle with the idea of believing in God. We struggle with the idea of praying to God. We don't open up our Bibles and read about God. The easiest thing we can offer to God is a few minutes of our time every day. That's the easiest thing to offer. Before we go and do some grand science or engineering project, can we offer 9 minutes is what I encourage people last time I preached on this. 1% of our day. Can we find 9 minutes a day to sit still and pray to God, to sit still and read the Bible? Because if Christianity or Orthodoxy is not doing anything for you, there's a really good chance you're not doing much on your end. Because when we offer even the least bit to God, God can take that and multiply it to an amazing level. Again, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish to feed 17,000 people with 12 dumpsters left over. That's an amazing, as they say, ROI, return on investment. So offering God even the smallest something can result in him multiplying it into something much greater. So if you're not doing anything in your spiritual life, give God something, even the least of something, and give him the opportunity to multiply it. But if you give God 0, then there's no opportunity for God to multiply it. The last thing I want to say, there is a God. That was the first thing. The second thing is, what am I going to offer to God? And the third thing is, there is an end. There is an end to this. If you read my social media yesterday, a sad thing happened on my vacation. 2 friends of mine that are priests passed away, and we're going to have a trisayon for them at the end of the liturgy. It's amazing how God works. You know, we have a women's Bible study here, and during COVID, when people didn't have anything to do, some women from other parishes discovered our Bible study. And they said, we want to come to the Zoom Bible study. And I said, the first thing we have to do is get the blessing of your priest. I don't want some priest hearing I go to some crazy Bible study with this crazy priest in Tampa, not know who he is. So I called, and the irony is that these two priests, the majority of women that come to our Bible study, are from two parishes, St. George in Ocean Township, New Jersey, and St. Nicholas in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So I called their priests, Father Andrew and Father John, and said, may I have your blessing, that these ladies can come to the Bible study? And they said, sure, we would love that. And so over the years, Father Andrew and Father John and I all became friends. We priests are kind of a weird group of people. There's only 700 of us in the country. We only have a handful of us that live anywhere near us. And so the majority of our relationships are on the phone and occasionally at a retreat. I was very blessed in the last couple of years to be invited, because of the Bible study, to do a retreat in Ocean Township, New Jersey, and in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I got to spend some time with both Father Andrew and Father John in person at those occasions and a few more. And last summer, both of them were diagnosed with cancer. And in fact, a year ago tomorrow, I was in Virginia Beach filling in for Father John. And we had lunch after the service. He didn't have the strength to stand for 3 hours and do the liturgy, but he came and worshiped, and we had a beautiful lunch together. I spoke to both Father Andrew and Father John on Holy Saturday this year at some length. I've spoken to them since, but I prayed to God that they would be at their respective altars next year on Pascha. I actually communicated with Father John just this last Monday. And so, ironically, these two people that I met because of Bible study, what are the odds that they would both pass away in the same week, just 5 days apart? I bring that up because we should pray for them and their families. They're both young, they're both in their mid-60s. Neither parish expect to be losing their priest. I'm close with people in both those parishes. But the number one reason I want to mention them is that they both, to me and to those who knew them, gave a good lesson in how to end your life. And they did it with faith, they did it with hope. They both suffered at the end. I know that from speaking to both of their families. But neither one of them, and I had spoken to both of them in the last few weeks, neither one of them said anything bad about their situation. Neither one of them had any fear. Both said, I'll miss my family, I'll miss my parish, I'm eager to meet the Lord. This is the fourth friend that I've had as a clergyman that's passed this year, in the last 3 months. I've spoken to all four of them, and all four of them said, I will miss my family, but there is no fear. There is no fear. And having no fear is a good place to be at the end of your life. So if there is a God, everybody has something to offer God. There is an end, and the idea is to come to the end without fear. And the way you come to the end without fear is by believing in God and by offering God something of yourself. Because if you've given the best that you can give, there's nothing else that anyone can ask from you. If someone has left everything on the field, even if they lose the game, they still feel like a winner because they gave everything they could give. So as we all come to the end, and we'll all be there at some point, if you want to feel good at the end, we feel good at the end by offering something, by offering our best, and not questioning, what do I have to offer? Offer what you can and let God have the opportunity to multiply that. Offer what you can and offer God the opportunity to multiply that. And it starts on a very granular level by offering him a few minutes of your time and saying, Lord, I present myself to you, just me and you. No phone, no friends, no social media. I present myself to you, Lord. Thank you that I'm alive. Help me to honor you today. Multiply your blessings on me and allow me to multiply those blessings on other people. I missed all of you. I did not go to church last Sunday. It was the first time in 3 years I missed church. I don't do that very often. I always feel like a little amiss when I don't go worship God on Sunday. But I was nowhere actually near a church last Sunday. But I didn't feel like going through the whole, we don't worship anonymously as priests. So it was nice to just be off the radar for a little while. I did miss you. I did miss worshiping, and I'm glad to be back. and I'm glad to be in front of the altar today. And I hope you're glad that you're here, and I hope that you will enjoy receiving Christ in the Eucharist and asking him through this to multiply himself in you and you onto others. Amen.